This week we're going to wander with St. Thomas Becket, who lived from 1118 to 1170, and his feast day is December 29th. He's the patron saint of clergy. What do you do when a friend wants you to lie? What do you do when telling the truth would hurt your friendship? What's more important, friendship or a truth? You can bump into this problem in a lot of ways. A friend might want you to lie to adults about something that she's doing wrong. A friend might not want to invite another friend on a trip, so ask you to pretend that there isn't anything planned at all. A friend might even try to get you to cheat in school. What do? You might be afraid of losing your friend, but you don't want to do anything wrong either. Thomas Becket had this problem too, but it was much more serious. Almost 1,000 years ago, Thomas was close friends with King Henry II of England. Thomas's job was to be the Chancellor of the English government. This meant that he was Henry's highest assistant. Thomas was older than Henry, but that didn't stop them from being great friends. They worked very well together at trying to bring greater peace and order to the people of England. But Henry and Thomas also had fun together. They talked for hours and enjoyed dinners and parties with the rest of the king's court. They also liked to be outdoors together. From the time he was a child, Thomas had enjoyed being outdoors. He was a good athlete. He and Henry had wonderful times when they went hunting. They also liked to train hawks and teach the birds how to hunt on command. This sport, called falconry, was very popular in England in those days. So you can see how close Thomas and Henry were. For years it seemed that nothing could ever come between them. But one day something did, and strangely enough, it all started because Henry thought so highly of Thomas. The main leader of the Catholic Church in England was the Archbishop of Canterbury. When the Archbishop died, Henry decided that Thomas would be a wonderful replacement. In those days, kings often worked with the Pope to decide who would be the Archbishop. Thomas received the news with dread. It wasn't that he minded serving the church, it was just that he knew his friend King Henry. He knew that they got along fine most of the time, but when it came to the church, they disagreed. Thomas knew there would be trouble if he became the Archbishop. He tried to tell Henry this. "If you make me Archbishop," Thomas had said to Henry, "you will regret it. You will love me now. Well, that love will turn to hatred." Henry didn't believe Thomas, but he soon saw how right his friend was. You see, King Henry wanted the government of England to have power over the church. He tried to make a rule that if a bishop wanted to travel outside of England, he had to get the king's permission. King Henry decided that if a bishop died, the government should get control of his land until a new bishop was appointed. And King Henry decided that if a priest or deacon committed a crime, it was all up to the government to decide how he should be punished. The church could have no say. This was a big change from the way things had been done before. It's complicated, isn't it? The most important thing to understand is that King Henry wanted the church to do what the government wanted it to do, no matter what. Thomas, now the leader of all the Christians in England, disagreed. He knew that the government had no right to control the church. He knew that the church leaders had to listen to God, not to kings. Henry had been Thomas's friend for a long time, but Thomas had to tell him he was wrong. It made him sad. He wished things were different, but Thomas knew that the truth was more important than his friendship with Henry. Now, when you have a disagreement with your friend, things can get difficult and sad. But for Thomas, it was worse. His friend was the King of England. His friend had a lot of power. His friend could make his life very, very hard. And Henry did. He made Thomas's life so hard that Thomas had to move to France for several years and hide in a monastery. Henry took property away from Thomas's friends and family. Henry tried to get the Pope to remove Thomas from his office. The Pope refused, and he encouraged Thomas to continue doing the right thing and speaking the truth. After many years in France, Thomas decided it was time to return to England and face the king, who was really no longer his friend. On December 1st, 1170, Thomas returned. As he rode down the streets, crowds cheered, welcoming their beloved Archbishop back home. Many people were relieved and happy, but not King Henry. Trouble and disagreements between them started again right away. One day, Henry became so angry during a meeting with his advisors that he spoke some fateful words. "Who will rid me of this troublesome priest?" We don't know what Henry meant by these words, but 4 of the king's knights believed they did. In obedience to their king, they set out on their horses for Canterbury, where Thomas lived. They arrived on the evening of December 29th, just a few days after Christmas. The great cathedral at Canterbury was being prepared for evening services called Vespers. Rumors spread through the town that the knights had come, and that they were going to hurt Thomas. Thomas's friends told him to go to the cathedral, thinking he would surely be safe there. Who would attack someone in a church? Who would attack the Archbishop in his very own cathedral? As Thomas walked across the cool stone floors, 4 figures emerged from the shadows. "Where is the traitor? Where is the Archbishop?" they called. Thomas answered bravely, "Here I am, no traitor, but a priest of God. I wonder that in such attire you have entered into the church of God. What is it that you want with me?" Thomas was asking why these men had come to God's house so heavily armed. The answer came not with words, but with harsh, bloody work of 4 swords. Thomas died there in Canterbury Cathedral in front of the altar. Very soon after his death, people started coming to the cathedral to pray and thank God for the powerful life of Thomas Becket, the man who risked everything, even friendship, for the truth. St. Thomas Becket faced the difficult choice between truth and friendship. This is a situation that many of us face. Why is it hard to make this choice? What do we risk losing? What do we gain when we choose the truth?